this is what happens when you get impatient. I've had my sourdough going for like 3 weeks, feeding it. I bought a little warmer for it because I thought it was too cold in my kitchen. And I just finally got impatient. I'm like, what the heck? I'm just going to try and bake a bread. Anyway, and this is this is the product. Look how flat it is. It's like a pizza. It is a new reading year. I've got some new goals. But sad to say, I did not accomplish all my reading goals last year. And based on one of the book club January picks, I'm going to go ahead and take this as a second opportunity to accomplish that. So my book club chose this. This is The Overstory by Richard Powers, and it did win the Pulitzer. So last year, one of my reading goal challenges, whatever you want to call it, was to read the Pulitzers that I have on my bookshelves back there. I did not do that. I might have read like 1 or 2 accidentally, but that was only because they was part of like some other goal that I had. So I'm going to go through those shelves. I'm going to pull out all the Pulitzer winners that I have. I think I have quite a few, fingers crossed, or else this will be a very short reading challenge. These are a lot of my translated works. So I don't think I see any there. What about here? Please ignore the squeaky, squeaky floors. Did this win a Nobel Prize? Nope. No. Down here. This is a lot of my winter kind of cozy, wintry-ish books. What about Arctic Dreams? Did that win something? National Book Award. Not you. I don't think that one, no. Okay, let's go down. Let's keep going down. H for Hawk, that was nope, other prizes. What about this one? I thought this won something, but I don't think it was the Pulitzer. Now it doesn't want to go back in. Go back in. Oh gosh, maybe I don't have as many as I thought I did. Hey, we got one. Ironweed, okay. And come on, I need some more. I think I know this one did. Okay, I think this one did. And then what else do we have all the way down? Maybe this one? Yes. And I think this one too. I'll have to, novel finalist, we'll have to check that one. Are there any under here? Initially, I was a little bit worried because I wasn't finding a ton, but then I did. It all came together, and now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I'm pretty sure are Pulitzers. First one is Empire Falls. It's got a nice, simple winner of the Pulitzer. Love when it does that. It's easy for me to find. I have no idea what this one is about. And then we have The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. This looks like a crime-fighting heist novel. I also have no idea what this one's about. This one's kind of thick, though. Oh, geez. Yep, and the font is really small, so that's gonna take me a while. Okay, next we have The Nickel Boys. I know of this author, but this will be the first book I've ever read of his. We have Less, which looks like it's about a businessman, which I really hope not. I hope it's not like some corporate thing. You are a failed novelist about to turn 50. A wedding invitation arrives in the mail. Your boyfriend of the past 9 years is engaged to someone else. You can't say yes. It would be too awkward. You can't say no. It would look like defeat. So you're trying to skip town. Thus begins in a round the world in 80 days fantasia. That sounds really good, actually. Awesome. We have Evicted. This is about people I think it focuses on the US, yeah. The American city. I don't know if it's one specific city that it focuses on, but I think it's a lot about the housing crisis. Next we have Ironweed. I think this is the one, did I try and read this before? No. I tried to read a book that looks like this. I think it's called like The Fifth Child or something. That's not this one. I don't know what this is about. Next, I don't know, did this win the Pulitzer? It says a novel by Pulitzer Prize finalist. But I thought this one also did. I think this one did, but I'm gonna have to double check. Oh my gosh, we have a lot. Next we have Demon Copperhead, Barbara Kingsley. What did I read by this author? I read something by her. This is also a really thick one, but this one looks awesome. Look at all the little, like, there's skeletons and pills and a skateboard, birds, snakes, mushroom. What is this? What genre is this? What is this about? This, the people in my book club read before I had joined the book club, and a lot of them talked about it. They had mentioned it a few times before being like really dark and heavy. Is it like Ways to Die? Because there's like, I'm guessing poisonous snakes, spiders, mushroom. There's like an axe. But I don't know what this is about. Oh, it's about Charles Dickens writing David Copperfield? Or is it like a retelling of it? I don't know. I'm gonna have to read to find out. Last, we have the original The Overstory, which is about trees. So, my book club that was tasked to read this month, we met a week ago. So I am already done with The Overstory, and I say it in that way because I DNF'd this book about halfway through. I really thought I was going to love this book. It won the Pulitzer, which I don't know if this is a wise challenge because it's such a lofty title, so you expect quite a lot of a book. So I'm going to be going in with some expectations that I wouldn't put on other books. However, I love trees. I love forests. I love books like eco books about the environment and how we need to be better caretakers and how we're doing a pretty poor job of it. I just gave Migrations, which is about a very similar thing, but it focuses on the Arctic terns. Like 2 weeks ago, I read that book. I gave it like 4.5 stars. Loved it. I was expecting really good things out of this book, also because it has like, I think it has like a 4.5 star rating on Goodreads. I did not like this at all. I was really disappointed that I disliked this so much. So it's so bloated. It doesn't look like it's that long. This thing is 500 pages. It could be 200. Like, this really feels like it could have been edited and cut in half, and it would have been much better for it. The first like half of the book feels like more of like a collection of short stories. We're given these nine strangers, their stories, and all of them somehow interact with trees in a very kind of vital way. And then the last half of the book, the majority of the characters come together and become, I think it's called like eco-terrorists, where they're fighting for the trees, and some of them kind of go too far, the bad things that happen. And it was so difficult for me to not keep track of, but keep invested in. I would read like 3 chapters and I wouldn't be able to tell you what happened. I would just I'd be reading the words, but my mind would be wandering. So many people talk about the really beautiful poetic writing in this book. I did not get that. I was pretty bored throughout. I just struggled to empathize with any of the characters. It wasn't for me, so I DNF'd this. I did not rate it because if I was to rate it, I would probably give it like 2 stars. And I don't think the book deserves that. So I am probably going to try to reread this in like a year or something like that, because I feel like this is also a book that you need to physically read. and I was listening to audiobook for some of it, so that might have been part of the issue. So we're starting out not great, a bit of a disappointment, but you know what? I am still hopeful. I have so many books to start. I think I'm going to start The Nickel Boys next because I'm really curious about this author. I've heard really good things about him. And I'll just kind of switch on and off between some of the thicker books and some of the thinner books. I'm going to aim to read all of these within like January. I can go into February a bit because there are some bigger books here, but it's going to be my first reading project, yay, of 2026. I'm so excited. Anyway, I will fill you guys in a few days, hopefully, when I have finished this one. I'll talk to you guys then. Welcome back, everyone. It's been a little over a week and I've made some progress. It is been like negative 15 degrees in Chicago in the last few days. It's painful even just to like walk a few blocks outside. So I am going to be spending the majority of the day inside, warm, cozy, doing some reading. We're going to talk about the progress so far. I have finished 2 more books, but first I'm going to open this package I got in the mail because I've been wanting to kind of have some physical embodiment of like keeping track of my reading goals. Ah! Nice. Look. Oops. Let's drop everything. So this is just like you can connect it to your like my bookshelf and you can keep track of how many books you're on. I can't remember. I ordered this a while ago. I can't remember what design I chose. This one apparently is what I chose. I guess these are like the little hooks that you put. How does this go? I'm not doing something right. Wait, I think it goes like, I'll figure it out. But anyway, I am currently at, for 2026, where's a 3? There's a 3. 3 books. Let's just pretend that's hanging there. How the heck does this go? I'm really confused. And there's no instructions, probably because it's like common sense and only an idiot, aka me, would need it. Shoot, now I can't get it out. How did I do this? Wait, turn. Did I figure it out? I think I did. I'm an idiot. We got it. I have read 2 more books in the Pulitzer Prize winning category. So the first book that I read and finished is The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I had heard a lot about this author. I'd never read anything of his before, but I think this is the second Pulitzer he won because I believe he won also for the Underground Railroad, but don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. So went into this book not really knowing anything about it. We focus on 2 boys, but our kind of primary main character is Elwood. He is brought up in 1960s Florida by his grandmother. He's very bright. He's a really hard worker. He's an idealist to the point of kind of being naive sometimes, but he really likes to believe in the better nature of humanity. He listens to a lot of Martin Luther King Jr. speeches, gets a lot of inspiration from that. He's just working really hard to create a better future for himself. He's about to go to college. He's trying to, I believe, visit the school. One day he hitchhikes a ride. Lo and behold, the people that he gets the ride from had stolen the car, which he was not aware of. The police come, everyone is arrested, and Elwood is sent to a place called Nickel Academy, which is supposedly this reform school. that troubled young men are sent to. But it doesn't take Elwood long at all to figure out that this is not the case. Nickel Academy is run by some very corrupt and kind of sadistic individuals. The boys there are subjected to lots of different forms of abuse. Elwood meets another boy whose name I think is Turner. And they're opposites in so many ways, but they've both been forced into this really terrible situation. And Elwood really wants to get the word out that this abuse is going on in Nickel Academy, which obviously is a very dangerous thing to do, because the individuals running it are receiving money from it and bribes and kind of allowed free range to treat these boys as they wish, and they don't want other people to know that this is going on. There's a twist in the end that was really unexpected, really good twist. I thought this was a good book. I ended up rating it, I think, like 3.5 stars. I have to say, I was expecting, just because I'd heard so many things about this author's writing, I was expecting something kind of specific where I could point to the writing style and be like, oh, this is why people love this author so much. And that I never really chanced upon that. Like, the writing was good and the story was good. I think it's actually based on a real academy called like Dozier or something like that, which I was not aware of. It was great to learn about that. I think it's a very important story. But as a novel, the author wrote the book from like a distance. It was more someone looking back almost and reminiscing about this point in their life, rather than what I like, which is kind of to be right over the character's shoulder and experiencing things as they are. I also wanted a bit more character development. Like, I liked Elwood a lot as a main character. He had a lot of great qualities. You wanted good things for him. You wanted him to get out of this place. You wanted him to lead a good life. But I felt like he wasn't quite fully developed. It also had some chapters that were like interspersed from other time periods, like from the future and from the past, and that just kind of took me out of the story as it was happening at this academy. I'm glad I read it, but we're just kind of continuing the trend of, like, I liked it more than the Overstory, but books that won the Pulitzer that I just don't get why. Speaking of which, the third book also, I feel the same way. This is Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I don't get it. Like, this, I think I also gave like 3.5 stars. This is about a man. His name is Arthur Less. He is about to turn 50, and he is struggling with that because he realizes that he's, getting up there in age, but he very much does not feel that way. He still sees himself as a young man, and coming to the realization that he is older is kind of this bemusing but painful process for him. Arthur's ex-boyfriend of, I believe, 9 years is about to get married, and Arthur does not want to go to the wedding because it's going to be awkward and people are going to be whispering, yada, yada, yada. So to have an excuse not to go, he accepts all of these literary invitations from around the world. So he spends several months, I think it's several months, time is a little funky in here, traveling to various countries to either be interviewed or to interview other people or to write articles, and spends this time reminiscing on just life and how quickly time passes and how, he's still alone at this age, and his past relationships, his identity as a novelist, and how he's, regarded pretty well in, with a lot of people, but maybe the critics have never, warmed to him as much as he may have liked. And there are moments in this book where I'm like, that's such a good paragraph, or that's a quiet moment in someone's life that's really deep, that, it doesn't need to be this huge explosion of a thing. It's just kind of those moments when you sit in stillness and you're just like, this is my life now. This isn't what I thought it was going to be like. The book definitely had moments of that. But it also just like the main character, he's not unlikable, but he's not super likable either. I didn't want it to be this thing where he goes around for several months and he's like, woe is me, like I'm successful, but I'm like the critics don't love me and I'm not married, but I've had so many ex-boyfriends that like my relationships have lasted for like 10 plus years. And I didn't want it to be this like self-deprecating, like, dude, your life is pretty good and he just can't see it. And I think he has some self-awareness, but it is kind of difficult to feel too much sympathy for him because a lot of the things that he does complain about are just like petty. It does have some humor to keep it from getting too angsty, and it is light enough where it doesn't feel like it's supposed to be this really depressing, dark book. And again, there are moments in it that I really did enjoy, but as a whole, again, this one was just like, it was fine. It wasn't life-changing. I think this has a sequel as well. And the ending, okay, so I talked recently about Under the Whispering Door, and this struck me in a similar way where it is him traveling far away to kind of get some distance from himself, to look back at his life from as much of an objective perspective as he can, to try and learn some life lessons. And the book is spends so long trying to teach those lessons, and then at the end it's just like you get this, I don't want to say like a fairy tale happy ending that you don't have to work for, but it's just like, oh, suddenly magically everything is okay. And it felt the same way through like Under the Whispering Door, where the ending just kind of destroyed any momentum the book was trying to build. This one wasn't that bad, but yeah, someone's calling me. I don't want to talk to you. You're probably a scam. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. Then I really want to give one of these books like 4 or 5 stars. I mean, I'm reading Pulitzer winners, but it's just, we're not there yet. We'll get there. I think next I'm going to read Evicted. I'm sticking to shorter books, even though like Demon Copperhead and The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, I think it's called, they are definitely longer. I should be interspersing some of the short ones with longer ones, but I'm not. I'm just going for all the short ones first. So hopefully I'll finish that in a few days, because I gotta start building this sucker up here, because I can't remember what my yearly goal is, but it's not at this pace I'm going. But you know what? We're doing okay. So I will talk to you guys in a few days. Enjoy this lovely cold weather, and I'll see you then. So it's been a day or two, and I finished the final book for this portion of the video. I'm going to split it into 2 parts just because I still have like 3 or 4 pretty long books to get through before I'm through with the Pulitzer Prize winners. But we are continuing the tradition of the 3.5 stars. I'm hoping in part number 2 we might be able to go past that. This was the one that I thought I might rate 5. I gave it 3.5, which is good. You know, I'm glad I read it. I think it has some really important subject matter in it. It kind of reminded me of Behind the Beautiful Forevers, but this author, Matthew Desmond, decided to move to, I don't know if he was living in Milwaukee. I don't think so. I think he was living in Connecticut, moved to Milwaukee, and specifically moved to a lot of the poverty-stricken, kind of unsafe districts. Lived in trailer parks, lived among people that he probably wouldn't normally, because he did have money to be able to live somewhere better, but he specifically went there so that he was able to document a lot of the difficulties that the people
who live below the poverty line face with housing, specifically with trying to get into housing, with keeping housing, with being evicted, etc., etc. The book documents, I think it's like 7 or 8 families in Milwaukee, and they're a range of different types of people, whereas like some have just been brought up in kind of this very, like, with a very poor background. Some people had really good jobs and fell on hard times, or became addicted to drugs, or, you know, became an alcoholic and just kind of lost everything through that. But the author does write these, I don't want to say characters, because it's based on real people. These people in a very honest, like brutally honest, but sympathetic light, where there was this one story in particular, this guy who was a nurse. I can't remember if he was injured in some way and got on pain pills, but he became addicted to pills somehow, and this just like demolished his career and his personal life, and he lost everything, and it was a really difficult climb back to stability for him. And it went through how he was trying to get clean, but a lot of the clinics would only accept like 4 or 5 people a day, and then everyone else would have to leave. And you wanted him so much to like beat this addiction and to get his life back. And luckily at the end, it did mention that once he was able to get into stable housing, it helped him so much. The author certainly isn't pulling punches with a lot of the decisions that the people in this book make. Really terrible decisions, terrible lifestyle choices. Probably a large majority of the people in the book aren't working there, dependent on benefits, on SSI, on food stamps. A lot of the people are drug addicts, they're alcoholics, they're drug dealers. There's a lot of women who have multiple children that she's not able to take care of but continues to have more. There's men who are absent fathers. There's people who are in very violent relationships. The author just kind of drops you into a day in their life in a way that I really liked, where I didn't feel like he was trying to paint everyone like an angel, but he was also, you know, garnering a lot of sympathy for the characters just because their lives in so many ways were so difficult just to get through the day. He also gave point of views both from tenants and from landlords, which I also really liked, so you could kind of see the struggles that both sides faced. The one area that I thought the book was, I didn't even have like an issue with it, but I thought it was a bit lacking, is the last 10 or 15% of the book is an epilogue in which the author says, hey, this is how we might be able to change the system and improve things. And he's a sociology major. I'm going to trust that he knows way more about these issues than I do. I'm certainly not an expert, but his fix seems to be like a universal housing voucher, which I have no idea how that would work. But he spends the last portion of the book just kind of berating, not everyone, but like, it's so shameful that this is allowed in our country, and how have we accepted this? And I absolutely think there needs to be change. Like, rent and housing is ridiculous right now. 30, 40 years ago, the American dream is like, you work hard and one day you're going to be able to buy a house. And I feel like no one in this generation feels like that's realistic anymore. But pretty much the entirety of the blame is, oh, the system is so bad, and there's zero sort of personal responsibility, where like you're making really terrible choices that are keeping you from a stable lifestyle, that are completely opposed to a stable lifestyle. And I feel like the characters who are making those decisions are going to continue to take that with them internally, and that's going to kind of infect their life, no matter if it's in, you know, a different state or a different house or a different apartment. Absolutely, there needs to be like the thing that hit me hardest in this one was the guy who was addicted. He really wanted to change his life, and he was willing to work to do it. And to see him try and reach out for support and try to go to clinics, and them only accepting a few people per day and turning away the rest. Like, addiction is so prevalent and it causes so many issues, and I think there should be so much more that we're doing to help people who really want the help. But at the same time, not specifically for him, but some of the other characters who are just like over and over and over making really terrible choices. Like, there does need to be some type of internal switch that goes off that's like, yes, I'm going to accept help, and yes, I need to change the way I think about things. And the author just never really seemed like he wanted to bring up that topic. But he did give an example, like, of one of the girls who was on benefits. I think she received SSI or food stamps, and she would go and blow it in a day. Like, she would buy lobster, and then she'd have nothing more for the rest of the month. Like, even if you provide someone stable housing, if they don't have the tools to kind of develop their minds or their way of thinking or their habits, I think they're going to find themselves in the exact same situation. So I think it needs to be a combination of having more available to people, but also saying create a lifestyle that is conducive to stability. And the author just never, he showed examples of the choices that these people were making that opposed it, but he never said, like, he never brought up that that's also something that needs to change, which kind of struck me as a little bit odd, but maybe he was just more concerned about kind of systematic issues. I'm not sure. But I did give this 3.5 stars. It was really good. I learned a lot that I was not aware of. So 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, and a DNF. Hopefully in the second portion of the video, when I read the final 3 or 4 books, maybe we'll get a 4-star. Maybe we'll even get a 5-star. I don't want to push my luck. But thank you guys for joining me on this video, and I will see you then. Bye.